So, can anyone guess Tamashi's favorite Dragon Ball villain? I can, cause he's mine too. This will be the third Frieza release to come out in 2 years, and we still have full power Frieza to come in September. I mean, I'm definitely not complaining. I love the old purple and white Tyrant, and I really hope Tamashi go this deep with this level of quality and detail as they've done so far with all the Frieza and cooler forms, as they do with every other Dragon Ball Z villain going forward. So the official release date for Mecha Frieza is the 23rd of April, with this being one of those premium Bandai same time worldwide releases, but it does look like the US got it a little bit earlier than others from all the mouth-watering photos on Instagram and the other reviews that you've probably seen on YouTube as well. So if you pre-ordered from premium Bandai and haven't received your Frieza yet, it should be on its way. That might be it right now. Every Frieza figure thus far has been a killer release. Even his brother Cooler, both forms, were and still are, in my opinion, some of the best figures in the Dragon Ball line. So it's no surprise that Mecha Frieza, probably one of Frieza's most unique designs, turned out just as awesome as his other forms. What I love about this figure is first, the proportions. The original 4th form or final form Frieza was and still is a phenomenal figure for its time, one of the few that still hold up even after all these years, but I have to say I do like the slightly broader, rounder shoulders on Mecha Frieza that tapers into a tiny waist, again flaring out with those big Frieza thighs. I'm a sucker for cyborg type characters, especially the androids, and this guy looks amazing with all his cybernetic enhancements. You get all your mechanical details on Frieza's head, chest, and legs. The silvers are a nice shiny silver, glossy teals for those circular light bulb things on his chest and head, and some nice clean browns on those areas that I've always thought were Saiyan armor pieces. It's a fantastic contrast to his more normal matte finish white body and kind of semi-glossy purple areas. He is a little bit taller than 4th form Frieza, but I think this could work as a great base body to an updated final form Frieza. I really like what they've done with the tail this time. It's kind of that triangular shape. It's a two-piecer which articulates at the base via your typical ball hinge, but the middle section are two overlapping pieces, which doesn't give you the best range, but it looks hell of a lot better than just another huge jarring ball hinge joint in the middle. The heads are slightly bigger than final form Frieza, but they do look great. We get 4 interchangeable heads ranging from your classic cocky Frieza smirk to your maniacal smile, an angry facial expression, and a full-on mouth open shout. Again, I love all the sculpted little details on his mechanical side of the head, but also you get his scar on the left side that hasn't fully healed from his battle with Goku. So when you swap out the heads, you also have to swap out the parts on the head too. Not sure why, seems kind of redundant when you could have just molded them in with each head, but I guess for budget reasons, maybe, I don't know, but it is what it is. So, any issues with joints, paint, or otherwise? Well, I'm glad to report that so far, so good. Articulation feels nice and tight. The paint is sticking and I haven't had any problems with smudging or chipping. Places you want to watch out for are the purple areas on his chest and shoulders, the silvers around his crotch, but other than that, I really haven't had any issues with this guy. Yay! No QC issues on this one. Okay, articulation time. So I just want to say that Frieza, before, we go on to everything else, that Frieza can stand up straight without any problems. You can see here, obviously the tail does help, but I have the tail kind of like elevated right now, so he stands up straight with no issues. I mean, all of the 4th form Friezas or the final form Friezas, they've always had that kind of balancing issue because they do have the tail at the back. And the worst one is probably the newest one, which I have standing directly behind Frieza right now. But yeah, they all kind of had balancing issues where the tail would kind of weigh it down and, cause it to fall backward. But with Mecha Frieza, he stands straight up, no problems. Anyway, let's get these guys out of the way and move on to the actual articulation. Alright, so Frieza, he does get pretty good range with his head moving up. Great range going down. We have a bit of tilt, and that's more in the neck joint than the head. And of course you do have your side to side rotation as well. Again, great independent neck joint there. I really like it. These shoulder pads, well, not shoulder pads, or shoulders, they are on hinges. Well, this might be a shoulder pad, I don't know. So they do get out of the way to give you very good range there. At the arms, you do have 360 rotation and a pretty decent butterfly joint. It's not too bad. We do have a bicep cut there. And we also actually have a forearm cut as well, which is quite rare, I think, for Figuarts, or especially the Dragon Ball line. Double elbows. I'm pretty sure you can get a little bit better range than that. Okay, double elbows for the other side. Yeah, as I expected. You get better range with the normal arm than you do with the mecha arm. And of course we do have your standard swivel and hinge at the wrist. So in the torso, Mecha Frieza does get a bit of forward crunch. It's not the greatest, but it's decent. But a lot more back actually. And again, it's more in the lower waist than the upper waist. Upper torso. We get some really good tilt, left and right though. I really like that. And your swivel is at the lower waist. The tail, as I mentioned before, because of the way that it's sculpted, the way that it's designed, the way that it's shaped, it does have a hinge at the base, but you know, when you try to hinge it up and down, you know, you do have to position the hinge in a way that makes it look a little bit unnatural. It is kind of stuck in that kind of like horizontal position. You do get two joints there at the base and at the middle. It looks great though. I really like the way that it turned out. And again, it does sit flat when you have Frieza standing in a neutral position, which is great. So yeah, I mean, you can't win them all, but it does do the job. For the legs, he does have a drop down hips, which is something that we haven't seen for a while. So I'm glad that they did give us drop down hips, because it does allow Frieza to kick forward. Well, I mean, you know, the 90 degrees, because if he didn't have it, he definitely wouldn't get that range. He does kick back fairly well. And splits, not the greatest, but I think it's good enough. I really like how they have these little extra pieces in the crotch there to hide those joints. Much appreciated. We do have a thigh cut. Double knees. Feet go down. Feet go up a fair amount. It's not the greatest, but it'll do. And we do have ankle tilt as well. So all in all, pretty good articulation for a smaller sized Frieza. You'll definitely be able to get him in some dynamic poses and I think have quite a bit of fun. Mecha Frieza is essentially two figures in one. One half of this figure doesn't actually move all that much, but this has got to be one of the best accessories to ever come in a Figuarts Dragon Ball release. Sure, it's not the most versatile accessory, but for the purpose of recreating one of the coolest death scenes in the series, it's perfect. Yep, we get an entire head and torso just to recreate Mecha Frieza getting diced up by Trunks, and a clear stand to prop him up. Like I mentioned, the torso doesn't articulate, and you basically remove the limbs from the base figure and pop them into the cut up torso accordingly, and all the Mecha Frieza details are there, all the paint apps, everything, including your cut right down the middle, and when you pair him up with future Trunks, you have yourself one of the best display pieces you could ever want on your shelf. So it kind of makes me wish that we could have gotten double limbs so I can just have Frieza in this pose with my extra future Trunks. Anyway, I love this, and I'm really happy that Tamashii decided to go all out and include this with this release. For hands, we get 2 fists for punching, a couple of open palm blast hands, a pair of curled finger open hands, and a set of iconic Frieza Death Beam hands as well. So if I had to rank all the Frieza forms, not including Golden Frieza, which I know this may come as a surprise to some of you, but it's a figure that I don't have, but someday I will, I'd still go with second form as my top, first form in second place, and Mecha Frieza coming in at a close third. That will probably change once we get full power Frieza. Actually, I'm pretty sure it will, but for now, those are my top 3. In saying that, every Frieza release so far, from the very first final form Frieza, which I have right here, the OG original release, have been top tier figures, from capturing Frieza's classic purple and white design to the abundance of accessories. Not to mention the build quality and engineering with the larger Friezas, so it goes without saying that I'm just as impressed with Mecha Frieza as I was with every other version of Mr. Planet Vegeta Killer right here. Sure, a Death Beam or Death Ball would have been nice, but you can probably use the many other accessories the other Friezas come with if you wanted. It's clear someone up in Tamashii loves Frieza, and I'm just hoping he or she or whoever shares that same love for the other villains and their other forms too. And that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then you know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more reviews as we have Figuarts Kaiju number 8 coming shortly. But till then, have a good one, guys. And as always,
よろしく